Chapter 4 and Song 4 Summary. Philosophy asserts that Boethius's greatest possession is untouched by fortune, his blessed family. Further, he should not complain in spite of his own suffering, because no one enjoys perfect happiness. Happiness does not lie in outward circumstances, but in inward self-command, for the self is one's most precious possession, which fortune can never take away. Therefore, people should build their lives on that firm, unshakable foundation which will last for eternity. Chapter 4. Then I said, "Your exhortations are true, mother of all excellence, nor can I deny the wonder of my fortune's swift career. Yet that's what chafes me more painfully when I recall it. For truly in misfortune, the worst sting of misery is to have been happy." "Well," she replied, "if you are paying the penalty for a mistaken belief, you cannot rightly blame circumstances. If the happiness that fortune gives moves you, even though it is hollow and accidental, come count with me how many great blessings you have received, and see how rich you are. Then if, by God's blessing, you have still preserved for yourself safe and intact that which, however much you own, you would have thought your most precious possession, what right do you have to talk of misfortune while keeping all of fortune's better gifts? Yet Symmachus, your wife's father, a man whose splendid character does honor to the human race, still remains safe and unharmed. While he mourns over your wrongs, this rare nature, in whom wisdom and virtue are so nobly blended, is himself out of danger. A gift you would have been quick to purchase at the price of life itself. Your wife still lives, with her gentle disposition, her unrivaled modesty and virtue, and this is the epitome of all her graces, that she is truly her father's daughter. She lives, I say, and preserves only for your sake the breath of life, though she loathes it and pines away in grief and tears for your absence, in which, if in nothing else, I would agree that your happiness is diminished. What can I say of your sons and their dignity as consuls? How in them, as far as possible in young men of their age, the example of their fathers' and grandfathers' character shines out. Since, then, the chief concern of mortal man is to keep himself alive, how happy you are if you could just recognize your blessings, you who possess even now what no one doubts to be more precious than life. Therefore, dry your tears now. Fortune's hate has not involved all your dear ones, so you can endure the stress of the storm assailing you. Firm anchors are fortifying you, so you will not lack either consolation in the present or hope for the future. I pray that they may keep holding firm. For as long as they remain, however things go, I'll be able to ride out the storm. Yet, you see how much of the splendor of my fortunes is stripped away. We are gaining a little ground, she declared, if there is something in your destiny with which you are not yet completely dissatisfied. But I cannot stand your daintiness when you complain with such violent grief and anxiety because your happiness is not perfectly complete. Why, who enjoys such settled joy as not to have some quarrel with the circumstances of his life? The conditions of human happiness constantly worry him. Either he never fully realizes them, or they never stay permanently. One has abundant riches, but his low birth embarrasses him. Another is conspicuous for his nobility, but through the embarrassments of poverty would prefer obscurity. A third, though enjoying both, laments the loneliness of an unmarried life. Another, though happily married, is doomed to childlessness and hoards his wealth for a stranger to inherit. Yet another, blessed with children, mourns over the misdeeds of his son or daughter. So you can see that it is not easy for anyone to be at perfect peace with his condition. There lurks in what each person goes through something that they who have not experienced it know nothing about, but that makes the sufferer wince. Besides, The more fortune favors a person, the fussier he is. And unless all things answer to his every whim, the most minuscule misfortunes overwhelm him because he is utterly untrained in how to face adversity. So petty are the trifles that rob the most fortunate of perfect happiness. How many people, do you think, would think themselves near heaven if only a tiny piece of your smashed fortune landed in their lap? This very place that you call exile is a homeland to those who live there. It is true that nothing is wretched, but thinking makes it so, and on the other hand, every circumstance is happy if endured calmly. Who is so blessed by fortune that he wouldn't want to change his condition once he gives vent to a rebellious spirit? With how much bitterness is the sweetness of human joy blended. And even if that sweetness is delightful while it lasts, yet no one can keep it from departing when it wants to. How obviously wretched, then, is the bliss of earthly fortune, which does not last forever, even for the contented, and cannot give perfect satisfaction to the anxious-minded. Why, then, you mortals, do you search for happiness on the outside when it lies inside you? Error and ignorance bewilder you. I will quickly show you the hinge on which perfect happiness turns. Is anything more precious to you than yourself? Nothing, you will reply. If then you master yourself, you will possess something you will never be willing to lose, and that fortune cannot take from you. And to help you see that happiness cannot possibly consist in these things ruled by chance, reflect on this. If happiness is the highest good of a creature living in accordance with reason, and if a thing that can be torn away by any means is not the highest good, since what cannot be taken away is better than it, then obviously fortune cannot dream of giving happiness, since she is so unstable. And besides, a man carried along by this momentary happiness must either know or not know how unstable it is. If he does not know it, how poor is a happiness that depends on the blindness of ignorance. If he does know it, he must unavoidably fear to lose a happiness whose loss he believes to be possible. So a never-ending fear does not allow him to be happy. Or does he think that the possibility of this loss is a trifling matter? How insignificant then such a good must be if someone can stand losing it so calmly. And further, I know you firmly believe that people's souls certainly do not die when their bodies do, since you have been convinced by many proofs. It is clear, too, that the joy fortune hands out is terminated by the death of the body. Therefore, there is no doubt that, if happiness is conferred in this way, the whole human race sinks into misery when death brings everything to a close. But if we know that many have sought the joy of happiness not through death only, but also through pain and suffering, how can life make people happy by its presence when it does not make them wretched by its loss? Song 4. The Golden Mean. The one who, firm and sure, would always live secure, in spite of storm and blast, immovable and fast, the one who would deride the ocean's threatening tide, his dwelling should not seek on sands or mountain peak. Upon the mountain's height the storm winds vent their spite, the shifting sands disdain their burden to sustain. You must these perils flee, fair though the prospect be, and fix your resting place on some low rock's sure base. Then, though the tempests roar, seas thunder on the shore, you in your stronghold, blessed and undisturbed, will rest, your heart remaining light, while mocking fortune's spite.